So quick introduction as to who we are. So we blend automation and the human touch to make recruiting easy. So a lot of the times, and Mike, if you want to switch slides again, a lot of the times, recruiting is not what people love doing most, especially the grunt work side of it. So our goal is to take that stuff away from you, so you can focus on doing more what you love, which for some people is working on the people and culture side of things. For other people, it's just focused on IT project delivery. So we make sure you've got the people you need so that you can do it. So what you're getting in the next kind of half hour, it's really just going to be a half hour, is we'll talk about the true cost of recruiting and why it matters. So what's the impact of ineffective recruitment? What does knowing information about recruitment metrics, how does it actually help you? What are those costs? How do you look at benchmarks from a recruiting standpoint? And what are some easy and strategic fixes you can do to make your recruiting better? So we're not just going to leave you with the costs, we're also going to give you some solutions as well. And spoiler alert, that solution is not just use us, we've got some other options in there as well. And if you want to head to the next slide, Mike. So I never like to save the results until the end. The whole goal of this meeting was what's the true cost of recruitment? And the real costs are time. So the cost of recruitment come into play when you're looking at, a 45-day wait period in between wanting someone and finally having someone. There's some stats we'll talk about later, but this can impact your likelihood of success and drive a lot of unrealized revenues. And I'm sure a lot of you folks feel that. I know we have one client who they started the company about 2 months ago, and that CEO has done 30 interviews in that 2-month period, and spent pretty much the entire time recruiting when he could be building out the company and the company's vision. So what's the cost of that when it comes to unrealized revenue, when it comes to not hitting your milestones, the likelihood of their product success, etc. The other one, which is more tangible, is filling up your calendar full of meetings and interviews with people who you might not even be interested in. That's the other cost there. And why do we do it? It's a huge return on investment when you do get the right people. So with that opening and with kind of those costs in mind, I'll leave it to Mike to kind of drive some more of those points home and go into a bit more detail.
Thanks, Kaid. Good afternoon, everybody. So the recruitment industry is a $500 billion a year and growing industry. A lot of smaller companies, they don't have the luxury of having an HR specialist on payroll to go through stacks of resumes. So who does it then? Project managers, director of technology, and how does if HR is involved, then how do they even know, what the technical expertise is that you're looking for the position? They get that list from the PMs and from the directors of technology. So, or whoever's going to be needs the head count. So who's going to do this work? They do the work usually at nighttime, reading, going through stacks of resumes, where they'd rather be probably doing stuff like binging on Netflix or hopefully getting outside and hiking and enjoying the weather and whatnot. So the number one pain is finding talent. There's a lot of companies out there that are growing, and unfortunately, there's not enough talent to fill that void. So that's what the CEO is reporting, that the number one pain is just sourcing and recruiting talent. Talent acquisition is about 30% of their work week, sourcing talent. So there's a lengthy period of time to fill positions. Sometimes it takes up to 45 days to fill a spot. And there's a shortage now of highly skilled, qualified professionals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak to that. So Puppers, he's a CTO and is looking for new staff to be able to take on additional projects. I previously worked for a software mobile development company. We did apps like Bloomberg, Activision's Call of Duty. We did 13 NHL teams and Whitecaps and whatnot. And we had some really tough problems trying to fill people to take on additional projects. A lot of companies they're proactive. They're not proactive. They're reactive and not proactive when they're filling and looking for positions. So in essence, you got a company that comes to you and they're looking to do some work, and unfortunately you don't have the manpower to be able to take it on. So that could cost you 3 to 4 jobs per year, which could put you into the positive and making you a profitable company, being able to grow. So we're finding that lack of talent is the number one driver for failed projects. Effective recruitment matters because the stakes are high. Like I said, if you are leaving money on the table by not having the ability to be able to take on these additional projects, what's that going to be to you, and what's that going to cost you in the end? Average hiring takes up to 10 weeks. And then imagine if you were interviewing for that position and 3/4 of the way through it, all of a sudden that person drops off, as people do. Some things happen nowadays with COVID, sicknesses. We just don't know. So you spent all this time in interviews and whatnot, and then you got to start over from scratch again. So understanding the cost of the recruitment, we think is one of the best places to start. So what's the true cost of recruitment? There's many metrics that you can go through, the source of time to hire, applicants per hire, cost per hire, but there's many more of those that we're going to go through. So we're just going to simplify it, and time to hire we figure is the most important. So if somebody came to you today, for instance, and said, we want to start a project, can you guys take this job on? You're thinking about, how am I going to hire? I need to hire a project manager, I need some developers, or whatever you need. We figure that 45 days is on average, is from the information that we've got from researching, is what it takes. So you're 45 days behind the ball now. So what does that do for your project? It pushes out timelines, and sometimes it makes, I guess you could say, faulty or not. You run into issues when you don't have active hiring. So 45 days is pretty much what it takes. You're 45 days, you're a month and a half behind halfway through that. If you were to have to hire somebody. Oh, 1 second. Is your screen, can you guys see that? My screen just went blank. Okay, good. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is the key drivers on time to hire and where the costs are. So resumes per interview. Sometimes bigger isn't better. You put your job description out on many of the job boards, and you find that you're getting the same people applying because those are active people, and which could be pushing out your timelines. And sometimes bigger is not better, because 300 resumes to go through. You're going to have to go through each one of them. You're going to spend a few seconds on each one, and which pretty much wastes your time. You're spending your evenings doing that, or your lunches or whatnot, because you've still got to do your job. So project managers or whatnot are going to be pushing out timelines on projects, unfortunately. So the second metric that we like to talk about is interviews per hire. So fewer interviews per hire means less time spent in interview rooms and a faster time to hire, and which we all want. We want to cut down that 45 days. So we talk about, typically for any company that is putting a job description out there, they're looking at about 250 resumes that they get on average. 4 to 6 will be interviewed. So even if you spend, let's say, 30 seconds on each one of those resumes, you're looking at probably up to 8 hours if only one person. That's just looking at the resumes, and that's not contacting somebody or setting up interviews or the next steps. So we're looking at 8 hours if only one person reviews them, 23 hours if two people, if you only want to interview 2 people for the first round, and then we're looking at about, as we said, 31 hours of time that it takes for one hire. So that's almost a full week of work. So if you think about that, I'm sure you'd rather be doing other stuff during your evenings and your lunch hours than looking through resumes. So what we're going to talk about now is some easy solutions that you can do. You can be more specific in your job descriptions and not be so generic that you're fine-tuning, in essence, of the people that you're looking for. There's many job boards out there that you can do that are specializing for startup companies. You've got AngelList, for instance. And what they do is they help out startup companies. So people that are specifically looking to join startup companies and are willing to forego pay in lieu of an equity stake in that company. And you got community groups which are really good that you can get specific into. For instance, they've got them for doctors, they've got them for project managers. We got Project BC, for instance. There's many community groups that you can do, and those are you're getting more fine-tuned because you're just not hitting the main job boards where there's more equals better, is what some people think. So yeah, for instance, this is the Angel Co. Website, as well as Product BC. So what they like, the people that are part of their community, and usually there's no cost to that whatsoever. So you can go in, you can join, and that's fine tuning it as well. So you're in essence not just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, or being forced to, you know, in essence, if you fine tune what you're looking for in specific job groups and boards, you can cut down your resumes in half, which could cut back 6 hours on that 31 days. So you're still spending the 25 hours. Let's see here, next one. So we've got other recruitment companies. They do a great job. Randstad and Tundra. For instance, what they'll do is they'll find you guys, they'll dig into their list of contacts, and those are people that are, actively looking for jobs, not passively. And that's one of the things that we like to do is we look out for active as well as passive people. So we reach out and into our database, and we provide that added value. So you've got Randstad and Tundra, which are the typical recruitment companies. The non-curated, which is Upwork, where you can spend your $5 or Fiverr, and you're probably going to get that $5 worth of an employee, which is not that much. And then you've got Vettery and us, where we're a hybrid. We're a blend of talking with applicants, proactively searching for them, as well as using our algorithms where you come to us if you're a company and you're looking for a certain type of a staff member or a developer. What we do is we do the best of both worlds. We reach out and we talk to them to make sure that they're somebody that you'd want to work with. We chat about what the culture is with the company, and we try to make a fit and save a lot of the legwork that most HR companies end up having to do, which will cut down on the hiring. Time to hire, and that's what we're all talking about, is saving you guys time, putting that back into your day. So that is the end of presentation here. I've got a lot more stats that we can talk about. So the impact of a bad hire, for instance, let's say you hire somebody, you could get 41% less productivity out of them. 40% lost time to recruit and train another worker. So when you hire somebody, you're just not paying for their salary, you're paying for the salary of people to train them. You're paying for their computer, you're paying for all that, for the desk and everything. So in essence, it's super important, as I was saying earlier, about hiring and hiring right and making sure that it's a good fit. You want to put that, want to make sure that when you're spending that time, you're doing it effectively. You got a 22% negative impact on a client solution if you don't have the right person in the position. Time is money, and it's also takes away time from your family and time from your friends and time for us hopefully to be able to get out after COVID's all done. So
yeah. Then Mike, if I can kind of hop in there.
Yeah, please do.
Like wrap that and move it to kind of questions. One of the things I found in this industry, and having not come from a recruitment background, was how little people think about recruitment, yet how big of an impact it has on their business. When I tell people that recruitment agencies just on their own are a $500 billion industry, they're floored. When I tell people that the health authorities spend $30 million a year on recruitment agencies, just as one organization, it's pretty incredible how massive of an impact it has because of how much time it takes up. So I think hopefully with some of the stats in here, and I know for some of you guys who are in positions where you're doing a lot of hiring, some of these numbers can help you push for additional strategies around recruitment because the costs are extremely high. And I just want to, before I pass it off to questions, if there are any, I just want to note we'll be doing the AirPods or Amazon gift card draw afterwards. This is something I forgot to mention at the beginning, and I got several pings from our marketing side being like, you forgot about that bit. So that is coming, and the winner will receive an update, and you guys will all get an email on that as well. So I'm really curious, does anyone have any questions on this stuff, or any kind of personal challenges that we can even workshop with you guys right now?
Hey, the main pain point for me, if you don't mind me jumping in, is hiring, and then 6 months later they don't turn out to be the right fit, and then we don't fire, and then 2 years later we should have fired them. Any advice on that whole situation? I mean, I think it probably starts with effective recruitment in the first place, because we basically hired several people because they were the only ones who applied that had the right criteria, and then we kind of knew that they weren't the right fit to begin with. Anyways, I'll stop my question there because
no, that's good. Yeah, no, the recruitment process definitely helps, and it is really challenging when you're not finding the right people, but you need to fill that void. That's you're gonna need to kind of like work on, it sounds like. But at the same time, there's so now that you have someone, what happens? One of the best things that I've seen other kind of executives do in that sense is just having some of these numbers helps a lot. It helps push your leadership team to make that tough decision of letting someone go if that's what it needs to be, because it's really easy to just kind of keep going and keep hoping that they're going to deliver. It's an area that kind of is outside of what we do, but my partner actually works in that space, and a lot of that has to do with measuring success, kind of having a good onboarding process with kind of clear outcomes at the 30, 60, 90 day periods. Having your one-on-one check-ins, that's an easy one for people to say, to kind of throw in the towel on and not do. And then having really honest conversations with your leadership team around whether or not someone is hitting their metrics. And then reminding yourself and your leadership team, firing people is not easy, but reminding yourself and your leadership team the cost of hiring the wrong person, which is usually about 30% of their annual salary for every additional year that they're there. It gets even higher if that person is creating an environment of toxicity, which is bringing down the rest of the organization, which is also extremely common. But yeah, it's kind of a hard thing to overcome unless you have the metrics to really back up your decision. Hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Any other questions? I heard someone unmute. Maybe it was just...
it might have been me.
That was just you. Yeah, any other questions from the group?
Okay.
Nope, sounds like crickets. So if there are no other questions, and feel free to just cut me off if there are, I'll just note that, hey, thanks for